started. He started with it. Well, I'm not sure if it was the first piece we did, but he pulled out Approximate, and we played that. Now the thing was, my father taught us before. He taught us about those rhythms, so we knew already. By the time I was out of high school, I already knew about 7/3 and 7/4 and all that stuff. And I practiced it. I practiced it in history class. I was, all the time, so I could just do it. And since I was interested in math, those rhythms were really intriguing. I found them very intriguing as well. And so then when suddenly here was Frank, who was writing music like that. I never played it before. So, but on the other hand, I looked at it and I could figure it out. It made sense. So that was fortunate that our dad taught us that. That's also true of Tom, of course, and Walt. But so we. I'd already liked him very much when I was a hippie, so it was an easy transition to playing in his group. Wow, suddenly they all left.
It's been an accident here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so then I went back to college.
So you only did that Approximate?
Yeah, well, no, I played a few tunes with him, and then that was it. I went back home. So then he called me about a few weeks later, a couple of weeks later or something. He called me and he said, well, you want to play in this thing? I got some concerts coming up. And I said, well, yeah, I should do that. That'd be great. So I came down and I stayed with Sal and played in that big group. And I really practiced hard. I practiced so hard. In fact, Tom, well, this is before Tom was in the band. But I just practiced and practiced and practiced until I could play it. He wrote me a special part. It was different than all the other trombone parts. It was like a special part. And it was really hard. I still have some of it, but it actually got lost.
Personally, do you like that part? Did you like it?
It's classical. I mean, it's a classic part. It's the hardest stuff ever written, probably, for trombone that was actually played. I think it's the hardest ever written, probably. Really impossible.
So you did that only on tour?
Yeah,
live?
we just did that on tour, and then we never recorded it other than those concerts that we did live.
I think that Frank liked the sound of trombone as well as bass. Am I right?
I think he certainly kept me longer than I thought he would. I figured I'd be fired a couple of times before he actually did do it. And we had a pretty good thing. In fact, I was just listening to the Lost Episodes that just came out. Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's we just worked really hard. Tom and I worked really, really hard, and we set up games for ourselves. We had to play this thing perfectly, or we couldn't smoke or something. Yeah. So we would just play it over and over again, and then we'd be exhausted. But we could play it, and then we'd walked in, and we had it down, and Jean-Luc couldn't play it. And then they'd get George and Jean-Luc went, wow, how can you guys do it? But we practiced, so then they got good at it too. And that was a great band. It was a fun band for the most part.
73 band.
Yeah, I thought the band when we went to Australia was about the best it ever was. I'd say that particular band, we got really good in Australia.
So why did you leave the band later?
Well, there wasn't really room for me anymore. It became, all those guys left. George was gone. It became more of a vocal thing. So I just sat around, and then I'd play. it was really hard for me. I'd have to sit around and in the cold arena, not playing anything, and then play a really, really hard thing. And that's just, you know, then I'd make mistakes, and Frank would get mad. You know, it was just not right. We had to have more than one guy, because Napoleon wasn't really an instrumentalist. You know, he couldn't play that stuff in the right way. You needed Ruth, and you know, when it was Ruth and George and me and Tom and everybody, so that if we were more of a jazz group, then it made sense to have me there. But when it went back to more of a rock group, I unless you're going to get like trumpet and sax or something, then it doesn't make sense to have me in the band. And then you know, plus he went through. This was when synthesizers were first coming out strong. And naturally, Frank would be the first guy that would get synthesizers and try them, because he was always into technology. He has that synclavier and everything. So he would definitely go for technology. So it was just like time for me to be out of the band. But you know, I did come back eventually again, and we did play. I almost joined the band in '80. I think it was 80 too. Didn't quite happen. But I played with him. I went down and jammed with the band, and he was talking about it, but it never did happen. But then we did 88, you know, and that's the time when he could justify having a full horn section, because just one trombone is strange, you know, orchestration wise. You really need to have about at least 3 horns, maybe 4 even. And then he went all the way and had 5 in '88, which is the best. You know, 5 is really big sounding. You can do the big kind of chords that he writes. But with one guy, it's ridiculous, and 2 guys, it's still ridiculous, actually. So it just didn't work in '74 or whatever it was. And then besides, then he had Ruth and George, and they could play that stuff, super fast stuff, faster than me, you know. Trombone is just too hard. It's impossible to play as fast as a marimba or a piano.
Yes, but you did those parts. I think it was bebop, tango, exodus.
Yeah, I played them pretty well, but then they got so fast. I can almost play it, but it's so fast that it's, as you can tell from the version of Inca Rose that's on that new record, it's a lot slower. But it's really accurate. On the other hand, if you play it that fast, trombone-wise, it's just about impossible.
How about redux?
Yeah, we could play it. Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that I was listening to that Kung Fu, especially. Kung Fu was awfully hard. That just took a lot of practice. Have to really dedicate yourself to that one thing, and your body has to learn how to do that one thing. It's just, it's really hard. It's a lot harder than on violin or something like that.
Do you think that it was appropriate from Frank to ask you to play in unison with other instruments, those difficult parts?
Yeah, because I think that's what had to happen. Either we do that or we don't do anything.
Okay.
Because the sound of the trombone works fine with his marimba. Marimba, trombone, bass, and synthesizer. That's a real unique sound. But the thing is, he has to write what he wants to write. And a lot of his music is as complicated as it is, rhythmically and melodically. It's actually kind of simple harmonically. So he's not there doing a huge harmonic work, although other ones are pretty great harmonically, like Peaches, for instance. But he's mainly based his music on really open harmonies and then complicated rhythms and melodies that have great big interval jumps. And if you can't play those, then you can't be in his band. That's it. He's not going to simplify it. for the band member. He's just going to get another guy. But those things are also hard on saxophone and guitar. They're only easy on marimba and piano, you know. So a piece like Echid Nazarov, when it comes to that, you can't play that really on trombone, although I almost did a few times. I probably got it a few times, but that was just really impossible. And the same way with the end of Bebop Tango. The last, that part can't be played on trombone. It's completely impossible. So he just pushed us as far as he could. Then he said, well, that's good enough, you know. But he's pushing us as far as he could, though. Always.